May I also extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Lord Tebbit. We remember his profound courage in the face of terrorism and a fierce devotion to his wife, Margaret. May he rest in peace. Mr. Speaker, we also mark the 30th anniversary of the genocide of Srebrenica. We remember those lost and redouble our efforts to fight hatred and intolerance wherever it exists. Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted to welcome President Macron to the United Kingdom. Our relationship has never been stronger, and we're focused on tough new tactics to tackle illegal migration, major economic investment to create jobs, and leading our allies to support Ukraine. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and can I associate myself with the Prime Minister's remarks? At a recent coffee morning, residents in Southampton Itchen told me how much they still miss the Bitton NHS walk-in centre that was shut down a decade ago under the Conservatives. So can I begin by welcoming this government's 10-year plan and its commitment to neighbourhood health services. And as we put this plan for change into action for my local residents, does the Prime Minister agree that Bitton is an excellent location for the first new neighbourhood health centre?
Well, I pay tribute to him for making the case for his constituents, and I know the Health Secretary will give it every consideration. Mr. Speaker, the 10-year plan will establish neighbourhood health centres in every community, and that'll make a massive difference, starting in the places where the need is greatest and life expectancy at its lowest. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud that we promised 2 million extra NHS appointments in the first year of a Labour government, and we've now delivered £4 million. We shouldn't forget that the record investment that made that possible in the budget was opposed by all the parties opposite.
Leader of the Opposition,
Mr. Speaker, can I echo the Prime Minister's sentiments about the horrific terrorist attack of July the 7th? I was pleased to be at the commemoration service on Monday, and in particular our thoughts are with the families of those who lost their lives, those who had to go on without their loved ones. And Mr. Speaker, I would like to pay tribute to Lord Tebbit, who died yesterday at the age of 94. He was a man of iron integrity and conviction, who by his efforts helped to save our country from the chaos of the 1970s. We all owe him so much. Mr. Speaker, in their manifesto last year, Labour promised not to increase income tax, not to increase national insurance, and not to increase VAT. Does the Prime Minister still stand by his promises?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, it is rare. It is rare, yes. It is rare that he's able to give a clear answer, but I'm glad that he has done so, because he also promised, in fact, he boasted that he solved the doctor strike, but only a Prime Minister who was so weak and giving 28% pay rise to doctors, only now we see that they're still voting to strike again. He folds in every negotiation and claims that it is a triumph. Yes, he does. And we saw at the budget, Mr. Speaker, more promises. The Chancellor promised that she would lift the freeze on income tax and national insurance thresholds, because in her words, they hurt working people. Is that still government policy?
Mr. Speaker, no Prime Minister or Chancellor is going to write a budget in advance. We are absolutely fixed on our fiscal rules. We remain committed to them. We remain committed to our budget, to our manifesto commitments. I realise that sticking to your fiscal rules and your manifesto commitments is a bit unfamiliar to the party opposite, but it's because of the decisions the Chancellor took, that this government has taken, that we can update the House. £120 billion of inward investment into this country since we took office. Business confidence at a 9-year high. That's longer than the Leader of Opposition has been in Parliament. Deloitte this week saying the UK is now the best place to invest, creating 384,000 jobs. What a contrast to the mess that we inherited from the party opposite.
Kevin Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, there is no clear answer there. The whole House would have heard him fail to rule out freezing tax thresholds. He could say it in the first question, he could promise, but he couldn't this time round. But what does this mean, Mr. Speaker? He's talking about record investment and more jobs. We know that people are losing their jobs. Unemployment has gone up under Labour every single month since it's their year in office. But what does it mean on this issue of tax thresholds? It means that under Labour, millions of our poorest pensioners face being dragged into income tax for the first time ever. Does the Prime Minister think it is right that struggling pensioners should face a retirement tax?
Mr. Speaker, for a Prime Minister or Chancellor to say we're not going to write a budget in advance isn't a Labour thing or a Tory thing. Every single Prime Minister and Chancellor says they won't. We will stick to our manifesto commitments. We will stick to our fiscal rules. This is a language they don't understand, which is why I have to... That's what got us into the problem in the first place. And whilst she comes here every week to talk the country down, that investment, record investment, £120 billion, that will be good, well-paid jobs across the country. And this investment, Mr. Speaker, is foreign investors who can choose whether to invest in this country. They're choosing to invest in this country now because they have confidence in what this government is doing.
Mr. Speaker, investors are fleeing the country. They're fleeing the country. He says he sticks to his manifesto promises. They promised not to put a tax on working people, and then we got the jobs tax. And all we have seen is jobs disappearing. Before the election, the Prime Minister promised, and I quote, "not a penny more on your council tax." The Institute for Fiscal Studies says that now council tax bills will rise at their fastest rate in 20 years. Will the Prime Minister admit that under him, council tax is set to soar?
Minister.
No, of course it's not. It soared under the last government. But, Mr. Speaker, here she goes again, back on familiar territory. She comes here complaining about the national insurance rise every year, every week. She comes here complaining about it. And then when she's asked the question, well, would you have the courage then to reverse it? What's the answer? What's the answer? And I'll tell you for why. Because she's too embarrassed to say she doesn't want the investment we put in. That investment went to the NHS. They want the investment, they can't say how they're going to pay for it. That is what got us into the problem in the first place.
Mr. Speaker, he still doesn't understand, so I'm going to make it very simple for him. This is a mess of his own making. He shouldn't be asking how we would clean it up. The fact is, they raise national insurance through the jobs tax, and that's why they have to put up council tax. The truth is, his catastrophic budget has created a domino effect which he cannot now control. We on this side of the House know that you cannot tax your way to growth. But now he's flirting. They're all muttering, I remember that budget, they were laughing and cheering, they had no idea the mess that they were creating. They should go and explain to their constituents about why unemployment is going up. But, Mr. Speaker, what is more worrying is that now he is flirting with Neil Kinnock's demand for a wealth tax. Let's be honest about what that means. This is a tax on all of our constituent savings, on their houses, on their pensions. It would be a tax on aspiration. Will the Prime Minister rule this out?
Mr. Speaker says we shouldn't be asking them for advice on the economy. She's absolutely right about that. We will not be asking for their advice. What we did in the budget was stabilise the economy through the measures taken by the Chancellor. And what has that led to? 4 interest rate cuts. For mortgage holders, that's hugely important. Compare and contrast what happened on the Liz Truss mini-budget. The fastest growth in the G7 in the first quarter of this year. Wages up more in the first 10 months of a Labour government than the 10 years under the Tories. So, no, we don't need lessons from them.
Mr. Speaker, he says he stabilised the economy. Has he spoken to any farmers recently? Yes. It is time for him to take responsibility for the mess he is making. He has been in office for a year, and all we see is him congratulating himself on what a fantastic job that he has done. Nobody out there believes it. No, not even them. Not even them. What a weak chair. Mr. Speaker, he's congratulating himself. We can compare records. He talks about the fastest growing economy. We left him the fastest growing economy of the G7. We cut cut the deficit in every year until the pandemic. We got inflation down to 2%. On his watch, taxes are up. Unemployment is up. Inflation is up. And this weak Prime Minister has been forced into a series of chaotic U-turns. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, the OBR said that our economy is being eroded under Labour. Doctor strikes, tax bombshells, the wealthy leaving in droves. Isn't the truth that under him he is dragging us back to the 1970s?
Mr. Speaker, responsibility. We're responsible for 4 million extra appointments in the NHS. We're responsible for a 10-year plan on the future of the NHS after they broke it. We're also responsible for free school meals being rolled out in a way which has never been done by any government. Breakfast clubs being rolled out, family hubs being rolled out, transport across the country, and migration coming down. We take responsibility and we're proud of that.
Lord Hatton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Eden project in Cornwall is a proven success story, injecting millions into the local economy. And in Lancashire, Eden Morecambe will soon be under construction, set to create hundreds of jobs. So it's about time we had the third instalment with Memo Portland, or Eden Portland, as many like to call it. This will be a world-class attraction, celebrating the Jurassic Coast and transforming the economy in South Dorset. So will the Prime Minister back this exciting project and work with me and all of the relevant ministers to secure funding to deliver this project? And ideally, can we use the new Growth Mission Fund?
Well, look, I thank him for highlighting this exciting proposal, and he's a fantastic advocate for Portland and South Dorset. The Eden Portland is a hugely exciting project. I can't confirm funding allocations yet, Mr. Speaker, but our £240 million Growth Mission Fund should support transformative projects that give local leaders real investment to deliver real change. And I know he makes a compelling case in relation to the fund that's been set out.
Sir Ed David, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself and my party with the Prime Minister's comments about the horrifying terrorist bombings of 7/7 here in London? Our thoughts are with the victims, their families and our amazing emergency services. And can I also join in the condolences to the family of Lord Tebbit? He was a man of service in the RAF, in politics, and as a carer for his wife, Margaret. He will be greatly missed. Mr. Speaker, after years of Conservative neglect, the special education needs system is in desperate need of repairs. But with parents understandably worried, we already hear Labour MPs planning another rebellion. So can I offer the Prime Minister this? If he genuinely wants to fix the problem and not strip away the rights of children and parents in some cost-cutting exercise, then we have 72 votes to help. So, will the Prime Minister look at the 5 tests for SEND reform we have published today and work with us to make it happen?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's telling that when he raises the question of the broken SEND system, they laugh at the back of the Tory boxes. They laugh. That's how seriously they take their responsibility. Absolute shame. But as he knows, every week across the House, people raise this issue with me. I think it's been raised more times than anything else. And everyone knows the system is broken. And again, guess who broke it along with everything else? It doesn't work for parents, and it lets down children. So we do need to reform and change it. That's not about saving money. We've already invested an additional £1 billion into SEND, but it is about creating a new system that truly supports every child. And we're developing proposals. We want to work with parents and teachers to get this right, and I would expect him to welcome that.
Sir Ed Davey.
Well, I thank the Prime Minister for his reply. We want to work across the House to fix the mess that Lay live. We don't want another welfare-style mess this time. We've got to fix this properly for parents and children. Mr. Speaker, The Conservative government badly undermined the security of our borders by ripping up the returns agreement that allowed us to send migrants back to Europe. So I hope the Prime Minister can secure a new returns agreement with France that acts as a real deterrent to stop the votes. And the Conservatives also sent hundreds of millions of pounds to France and got nothing in return. Does the Prime Minister agree that any new funding to the French government must be conditional on them agreeing a returns deal and doing their bit to stop the votes?
Mr. Speaker, we're working closely with the French on this issue. We'll only provide funding that delivers for our priorities. We are working closely. We share information to a much greater extent than was the case before. We've got a new specialist intelligence unit at Dunkirk, and we're the first government to persuade the French to review their laws and tactics on the North Coast to take more effective action. I'll be discussing this at meetings with President Macron both today and tomorrow.
John Slinger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In light of recent events, could the Prime Minister update the House on the work of the COVID Corruption Commissioner? And does he agree with my constituents in Rugby, Bulkington and the surrounding villages that there should be no place in public life for people who exploited the pandemic and defrauded the taxpayer to line their own pockets?
My honourable friend makes a powerful point, and I hope it was heard on the benches opposite. It's an absolute scandal that failed PPE contracts were handed out by the Conservatives at taxpayer funds of £1.4 billion. We're focused on getting our money back. I can confirm the Commissioner is now investigating fraud involving bounce back and business support loans, and we will continue to go after the fraudsters, the grifters and the con artists, no matter who they are or where we find them.
Nigel Farage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The main reason this country decided some of you want to get in a little later. If this takes forever, you won't get in. Nigel Farage.
Thank you. The main reason this country wisely voted for Brexit back in 2016, and that included millions of Labour supporters, is because we wanted to take back control of our borders so that we and we alone could decide who comes and settles in our country. Does the Prime Minister understand that that demand today is even greater than it was back in 2016, and that we demand, the country demands, that you say to the French President, will you shut up? That you say to the French President, we will not accept undocumented males across the English Channel, and that you are not dictated to by an increasingly arrogant anti-Brexit French President.
Mr. Speaker, we are fixing the mess that we inherited. We are working with other countries to ensure that we take the measures necessary to stop people crossing the Channel. They are serious answers to serious problems. His proposal for 10 years, wagging the Tory dog, has been to break everything and claim that's how you fix things, to stick two fingers up at your neighbours and then expect them to work with us. And he votes against the Borders Bill, which gives more powers to our law enforcement to deal with security at our borders. And, Mr. Speaker, the reason for that is he has no interest in fixing the problem because he wants to milk it and exploit it. That's the truth about him and his party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From homelessness to child poverty, so many of the challenges that I see people facing in Exeter can be traced back to early years. So can I welcome how this government is rebuilding on the legacy of Sure Start, so cruelly dismantled by the party opposite? And can the Prime Minister set out what difference this will make to family services in Exeter?
Well, I'm grateful to him. I've discussed it with him before. He's a brilliant champion for Exeter. Mr. Speaker, every child should have support to realise their potential. And the party opposite tore up Sure Start and took it out of our communities, an act, in my view, of vandalism that abandoned families and deepened inequalities. Mr. Speaker, we're delivering 1,000 Best Start family hubs across the country. That's in addition to free childcare being rolled out and expanding free school meals. That's the change the Labour government makes.
Jim Ramsey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Growing numbers of people are joining calls for a wealth tax on the super rich, including former Labour leader Lord Kinnock and today a former First Minister of Wales, and it transpires the Chancellor herself when she was in opposition. So will the Prime Minister stand by his promise that those with the broadest shoulders should carry the largest burden? And can he clarify that that means the ultra-wealthy, not disabled people, the poorest and children with special educational needs?
Mr. Speaker, I'm really not going to take advice from a party that put forward £80 billion of unfunded commitments at the last election. That's the sort of thing that got us into the problem in the first place. Mr. Speaker, we can't just tax our way to growth. We need to ensure that we put in place the necessary measures. We're putting in place planning reforms, Mr. Speaker, to drive growth. He voted against it and they voted against it.
Bill Lester.
Mr. Speaker, I am proud that this Labour government is banning fire and rehire. I am proud that we are addressing the abusive use of zero-hour contracts and improving protections at work, particularly against unfair dismissal. Reform and their Tory friends voted against Labour's workplace protections. I don't know why they're heckling. When they were in government, they promised to deal with fire and rehire, and after, and despite the scandal at P&O, did absolutely nothing about it. So, does my right honourable friend agree that it is only this Labour government which will ensure people have fairness at work in this country?
Well, I'm proud that we'll give 15 million workers, that's half of all workers, stronger rights at work. And Mr. Speaker, that's sick pay for up to 1.3 million of the lowest paid, tackling sexual harassment and bereavement leave for families who experience pregnancy loss before 24 weeks. Compare that to the Leader of the Opposition who thinks maternity pay is excessive. The Leader of Reform who wants working people to pay tax for tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires. Both of them vote against reform and better protection of workers at every term. They always have and they always will. They offer nothing for working people.
Sir David Davis.
With permission, Mr. Speaker, before my question, can I tell the House that in the public gallery today there are a number of veterans of Northern Ireland? Given what the Prime Minister said about 7/7, I'd like to publicly thank them for their courage in defending our country and our democracy against the first scourge of terrorism. Now, the Prime Minister knows that every time a paramilitary was killed in Northern Ireland by a British soldier, it triggered a thorough investigation. No bullet went unscrutinised. Our soldiers were held to the highest standards of law. The IRA were not. They tortured and shot men in the back. They forced families to watch their menfolk murdered. They killed women and children with bombs. Yet we're willing to prosecute our own men. Men forced to make life and death decisions in split seconds. If the government get the legacy legislation wrong, at least 50 innocent retired veterans will be exposed to legal persecution for crimes they did not commit. Now, I've raised this matter 6 times now since February. So I ask again, on Monday, when we debate this matter in Westminster Hall, will his government protect our veterans, or will it sacrifice them to politically motivated lawyers trying to rewrite history with a pack of lies?
Well, can I join him in his thanks to the veterans here today with us and to all veterans? And, I mean, he knows this is a serious issue, and the outing of his, at the end of his question didn't really reflect that seriousness, because the scheme that was set up by the party opposite was found to be unlawful in the courts, and he knows it. And it wasn't supported by the communities. it would have meant, as he knows, immunity from prosecution for those who committed the most appalling terrorist crimes. And that's why it didn't have support in the communities and didn't have the support, I think, of any political party in Northern Ireland. And that was amongst the reason it was found to be unlawful. So we have to tread carefully, we have to get this right. And I'll work with him on that, but we don't get there by cheapening the debate. We will look at the address. It's not about political point scoring. I worked in Northern Ireland. I've spoken to many of the people affected, and I know we must get this right, and I want to do so, and I want the House to do it together if we possibly can, because it matters. But we have to do that in a serious way, to address the issues of the past, of course, in a way that has support of victims and survivors. And that is a key test for me, because without the support of victims and survivors, I think it's very hard in Northern Ireland to come up with something which will have the confidence of everybody in Northern Ireland, which is why we have to work in the way we do. In advance of the new legislation, the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland continues to engage with veterans and their communities to ensure that legacy mechanisms are fair, that they're lawful and they're proportionate. And I'll continue to work with him and others in the House, because the most important thing is not scoring points but getting it right.
Luke Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week I published a report which revealed the terrible legacy left by the party opposite on the NHS locally. Kids in Basingstoke waiting 210 days following a referral for access to mental health services, 3 times the national average. So I welcome the publication of the 10-year plan last week, led by the Prime Minister, to be delivered by a Labour Health Secretary, made possible by a Labour Chancellor. But can I ask the Prime Minister what more the government is able to do to close that gap in mental health services locally and ensure that every kid in Basingstoke has access to the very best mental health services?
Well, I thank him for that. The party opposite failed to give children the support that they need. The 10-year plan that we've put forward will rewire our NHS and transform mental health services. 85 dedicated mental health A&E departments giving 24/7 support, specialist mental health professionals in every school and college, benefiting 1 million young people this year alone, and an extra 8,500 mental health staff to tackle long waits. And that is only because of the decisions that we took to invest in our NHS, decisions that they opposed.
Jess Brown-Fuller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to add to the many calls that this Prime Minister has already heard about the broken SEND system. I met with head teachers and SENCOs in my constituency of Chichester last week. They all told me the same thing, that the SEND system is broken, it's adversarial, parents are at breaking point, there are not enough spaces in specialist schools, and the EHCP process is long, it's harrowing, and it's often degrading. Now, I know the government are exploring their options, but will he take the Liberal Democrat calls to introduce a national body for SEND so that we can end the postcode lottery and fix this problem for good?
Well, I thank her for raising this issue, and I know it's of concern to her and to many people across the House. The system we've got is broken. It's not serving anyone well. We've got to reform it, and I set out in an earlier answer the steps that we are taking. We will share those with the House, and I hope that we can get the greatest support possible for the reform that I think everybody here knows has to happen.
Catherine Fuchs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm delighted at the spending review commitment of £445 million for Welsh Rail. A new station at Meigran-Undy will take cars off the congested M4, offer greener journeys and open doors for local residents without a vehicle to get jobs. And it's great value for money due to the track and infrastructure that's already in place there. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that Meigran-Undy is an excellent candidate to be the first Burn station built so it can start serving local people?
Yeah. Well, it's so good to see strong Labour MPs standing up for Wales and her constituency. She makes her case. I can't confirm the plans yet, but we will consider recommendations from the Burns Commission, which includes a proposal for a new station in her constituency. And I'm delighted, Mr. Speaker, just this week we set out a major road and rail schemes across the country, the A66, Newark Bypass, Midlands Rail Hub, creating tens of thousands of jobs, new homes and better journeys for millions of travellers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the past few weeks, I've spoken to 5 people from my rural constituency of North Devon who have been forced to remove their own teeth with pliers
or with amateur surgical kits bought online because they are unable to find an NHS dentist. What would the Prime Minister say to those people, Mr. Speaker? And when will the government banish this dentistry crisis to the history books where it belongs?
Yeah. Well, Mr. Speaker, another shameful legacy from the party opposite, with 1 in 4 adults struggling with NHS.